You know, if you build stuff for the web, you're always stuck with this one big trade-off. Do you want to build fast, or do you want to build it right? Well, today we're diving into a tool that pretty much says you don't have to choose anymore. It promises speed and total control. Let's see how it pulls that off.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about that classic developer's dilemma. Then we'll see how shadcn/UI flips the script from putting together UI in minutes to making it look great on any screen. And finally, we'll look at why this whole composable approach might just be the future.
All right, so every single time you start a new web project, you're faced with this problem, right? It's this constant tug of war. Do you want to get something out the door fast, or do you want to build it with precision and have full creative control over how it looks and feels?
On one hand, you can build everything from scratch. You get total pixel-perfect control, which is great, but man, is it slow. You're constantly reinventing the wheel. On the other hand, you can grab a component library. You get up and running super fast, but you're stuck inside their box. The second you need to change something they didn't plan for, you're fighting the library instead of building your thing.
But what if that whole dilemma was, well, a false choice? What if there's a third way? This is where shadgun/UI comes in, and it's built on a pretty radical idea. What if a component library wasn't a library at all?
Okay, so this is the part you really need to get. shadcn/UI isn't a package you install like you normally would. It's not some black box of code hidden away in your Node modules folder. It's more like a catalog of components that you literally copy and paste directly into your own project. They become your code.
And that's the whole philosophy right there. You're not just using the components, you own the code. It's like getting the blueprint and all the pre-cut materials for a piece of furniture, but you're the one who actually gets to assemble it and paint it any color you want. You get the speed without sacrificing control.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in practice? Let's see just how ridiculously fast you can go from a completely blank page to a working UI.
Seriously, getting started is so simple. You're in your project, you run one quick init command to get the basic setup done, and from there, you just cherry-pick the components you need, one by one as you go. No bloat.
So let's say this is our app. We've got a nice layout, but it's just static. We need something for the user to click on, right? We need a button.
Now, in the old world, you'd go find some library, import their button, and then probably fight with its styling. But with shadcn/UI, you just hop into your terminal and run this one simple command.
And just like that, boom, a brand new button.tsx file pops right into your project's components folder. And here's the magic. It's not locked away. It's your code. You can open that file, change anything you want. You have complete ownership. This is honestly a total game changer for how you think about building UIs.
Okay, so now that we have our very own button component, let's talk about one of the most powerful ideas in modern web development, reusability. This is where things get really efficient.
Let's imagine we're building an e-commerce site. Instead of hand-coding every single product card on a page, which would be a total nightmare, you just design one single perfect template for what a product card should look like.
Then you just figure out which parts of that card need to change for each product. You know, the image, the title, the price. In the world of React, we call these props. Just think of them as empty slots that you can fill with whatever data you want.
And this is where it all comes together. We take that one template, and we just feed it different data, different props, and out come all these unique cards. It's the same exact code powering all of them, just with different information plugged into those slots.
The efficiency here is just amazing. You can generate a whole grid of products in seconds. And the best part? If you need to change the design later, you just edit the one template file, and every single card on your entire website updates automatically.
All right, next up, let's tackle another huge headache for web developers, making things look good on every device, from a giant monitor to a tiny phone. We're talking about responsive design.
So look, on a big desktop screen, having text on the left and an image on the right makes perfect sense. But if you try to squish that same layout onto a phone, it becomes a mess, right? It's all cramped and unreadable. The obvious solution is to just stack them on top of each other.
Now, you might think that kind of logic is complicated to code, but with Tailwind CSS, which is what shadcn/UI is built on, it's unbelievably simple. You just tell it, hey, be a column by default, that's flex call, and then once the screen gets large, switch to a row, that's LG flex row. And that is literally it. 2 little classes and you have a fully responsive layout that just works.
So let's zoom out for a second. What does all of this really mean? Why is this composable way of doing things, where you actually own the little building blocks, getting so popular all of a sudden?
Well, when you put it side by side with the old way, the difference is just night and day. With traditional libraries, the code is hidden. You're limited in how you can customize things, and you often end up shipping a bunch of code you don't even use, which slows down your app. But with Shadden/UI, the code is yours, the control is total, and your app stays lean and fast because you only include what you actually need.
Really, what we're looking at is a fundamental shift from renting your components to owning them. It's about getting the best of both worlds, the lightning-fast development of a library with the total freedom of building from the ground up. So the real question to think about is this: once you're no longer forced to choose between speed and control, what new possibilities does that open up for what you can create?